Hello students, a very warm welcome to you once again. As you see, in this particular series, we are trying to understand the UPSC questions, each and every question in detail. We are trying to take a look at the in-depth analysis of a question, how are we supposed to get the right kind of a content, and once we are having a good quality content, we will be able to write effective answers or a more scoring answers. Now let's get into the third questions, and as you see, uh, once again the part A and the B are going to be for 20 markers and the C will be a short answer for a 10 marker. Let's look what is the question that came in the question number 3. How do you view and assess the increasing trends of digital ethnography and the use of visual culture in sociological research? So this is one question that has come. The second question is speaking about the ideas of Max Weber, and the third is talking about salient features of alienation and what are some of the critical explanation that we can give. Let's directly jump in and see what are we having for the first one. Let's read the question carefully, first of all. How do you view and assess the increasing trends of digital ethnography and the use of visual culture? In this particular question, there are two important terms that I want you to pay attention to. That is one, digital ethnography and visual culture. And this is a highly opinionated question because the main tail word that they're asking is how do you view these two phenomena? So before we answer, let's just try to think from which part of the syllabus this question has been produced. So if we look at the syllabus, this is coming from the unit 3, which is research method and analysis. In the unit 3, there are three parts, and the question is about digital ethnography and visual culture. It means how a research is being conducted, or for any sociologist, how the researcher is getting those data. So it is coming from the second part, that is the different techniques which are used by a researcher to collect the data. So I would say this is a question which is coming directly from unit 3, and in that we are having the part B, different methods of data collection, etc. And now let us try to look at the three parts. So as usual, we will be dividing our answer into three parts. First one will be an introduction, then we will be having the body part, and then we will see how can we write a good effective conclusion. If you look in the introduction, we need to provide a definition of the two important words that we are having. One is the digital ethnography. Now, as you usually know, the meaning of ethnography is commonly seen. It is present in your notes, it is present directly in the definition as well. But the term digital ethnography is coming for the first time. What does it mean? That today the researchers are not conducting a research at a physical level, but they are conducting a research at a virtual level. They are trying to understand how humans are interacting with one another at uh, at the different social media platforms, because individuals are having different types of identities. So what is digital ethnography? It is a study done by the researchers in the digital world. So a researcher is going to be there, and he is going to conduct a research not in a physical world, but rather they are going to conduct it in the digital world. Moreover, they are studying the different types of social interactions. Digital activism is happening in these virtual spaces, etc. So they are also trying to capture what is happening in the metaverse. So the main area of orientation, what is digital ethnography trying to capture? It is looking at the online communities and the different identities that people are trying to carry themselves. For example, if you go to LinkedIn, people are referring themselves with different genders, different identities are being used. If we see how the political movements are happening, those political movements are being captured. For example, look at environmental movements. Look at hashtag women movements which are being carried forward. So here we are trying to look at the online identities, political movements, and if we see even at the economic level, the kind of gig workers who are working such as Swiggy, Zomato. So researchers are focusing on these platforms, different social media, and from there they are getting the data. And another important term that you need to highlight over here is what is the meaning of the word visual culture? What is the meaning of the word visual culture? And the term itself is self-explanatory. It is talking about how pictures, images, or some direct objects are being used to make any sort of an explanation. Because in the previous time, whenever a research is being conducted, there might be a written form of a data. But the visual culture is explaining that there is a pictographical form of data which is being considered. And as you are seeing that how the data is getting how the data is being captured from YouTube, Instagram, Reels, or maybe TikTok, etc. So all this visual culture is a phenomena known to be as TikTokification of social media. So that is one. So the point that we are trying to highlight over here is there are two terms that you need to define over here. One is what is the meaning of the word digital ethnography? What is the meaning of the word visual culture? So you will be defining them and then you will be shifting to the main demand of the question, and they are asking how do you see these phenomena? Now, this is a question which is coming at a personal level. So the examiner is looking, do you have any kind of an opinion to provide? And as we see that digital ethnography or the visual cultures, I will just use a short form, digital ethnography or visual culture, they have got their own advantages and disadvantages. So how do you see? You see that there are some advantages such as the geographical boundaries which are present. Those geographical boundaries have come to an end because in the initial times, whenever such research are being conducted, whenever those researches are being conducted, at that time they are limited to a particular geography, but now we are seeing the digital spaces is diluting those boundaries. Moreover, another advantages that we are having is we will be able to collect the real time data. It means the researcher is not going to wait weeks and months and from there they are not going to collect the data. It will be a real time data and large amount of data sets, large data sets. Excuse me. Large amount of data set is also being captured, but there are some disadvantages as well. What are the disadvantages? That it is going to bring a form of a digital surveillance, that people might not be aware that the data is being captured. Excuse me. Yeah. People might not be aware that their data is being captured. And another issue that we can highlight is this can also be a breach of right to privacy. That could be a problem. Moreover, we can associate that whenever a data is being collected, it must happen in an informed manner. So we can see an uninformed consent can be there. Means the person might not even know and their data can be collected. So here, what we are saying is how do we assess? So the question, let's try to understand once again. How do you view the assessing? Just a second. Yeah. So the question is, how do you view and assess the increasing trends of digital ethnography and the use of visual culture in sociological research? So first of all, we have tried to make an explanation of what is the meaning of digital ethnography. We have also tried to explain the meaning of the word visual culture and how do we view this phenomena, that this both the phenomena are able to provide some benefits and as well as it is able to provide some disadvantages. So it is removing the geographical boundaries, real-time data we can capture, large amount of data sets can be collected at a global level. But the problem is digital surveillance can be one of the issues. It can be a breach to the right to privacy. Without giving a proper consent, those data can be captured. So here, as we are seeing, the world is moving away from the physical realities. They are getting into the digital spaces. There is a large amount of importance that digital ethnography is having. And moreover, we are also seeing the visual culture also tends to get expanded. So we can highlight in the conclusion that there are new dimensions which are being added to collect the data. At one time, it was in the physical spaces. Now we are getting to see the data is being collected at a virtual space. But it is the responsibility of a researcher to establish the data at a quantitative level and also to establish at a qualitative level. So here, excuse me, there's some issue that is happening. Yeah. So there is some responsibility present at a quantitative level as well as at a qualitative level. So both of these. So this particular question is going to have an introduction with two definitions. It will have 3 to 4 paragraphs to explain the positive and the negative aspects of visual culture and digital ethnography. And you must balance the conclusion mentioning a quantitative data is anyways getting from pictures, but the qualitative depth should be captured and a balance must be maintained. So it's not an easy question. I would say it can be called as a moderate kind of a question. Let's look into the second question. Uh, okay. Now let us try to look at the second question. Describe the main idea of Max Weber's book, The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, as a critic to Karl Marx. So I think if you are preparing for sociology from past 4 to 6 months or maybe at least 3 months, you will be able to analyze from which part of the syllabus this question is coming. It's a simple, direct, straightforward question which is coming from the unit 4th. And in that you are having the third thinker, that is Max Weber. And Max Weber has spoken about social actions, bureaucracy, rationality, etc. In this, he is talking about the religion as a factor which changes the economic system. So this particularly has been taken from the chapter Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. Let's try to give an introduction to this particular question. You need to say that Max Weber has been most famous for his theory of Protestant ethic and the spirit of capitalism, which came in the early 20th century. This is considered as his landmark work. Why? Because up till now, nobody was able to show a relationship where religion is responsible for changing or bringing a new economic system. So particularly this will be considered as a theological doctrine. So in the introduction, you are going to say that Max Weber has provided a theological doctrine where religion is responsible for establishment of the economic system. Going into the body part, you need to highlight that Weber was considered to be as a major critic of Karl Marx. In fact, there are some labels that Weber is regarded as. He is called to be as a vulgar Marxist. He is also called to be as the ghost of Karl Marx. These can be some of the things that you can use in the starting, and then you are going to say how Weber is actually creating a very much contrast to Karl Marx view, because Marx was telling that if you are looking for any kind of a social change, for you to arrive at those social changes, you will be needing an economic criteria. For example, if you look at the historical materialism of Karl Marx, different stages have been highlighted, and one stage will transfer into an another stage whenever the economic system is going to change. But Weber is creating a contrast over here. What does Weber say? That if you are looking for a social change, it can be achieved in a non-economic manner as well, and that he highlights it is the religion. It is the religion of Christianity, in that there is a sect that was established by John Calvin. So it is the Protestant ethics which will become the essence or the foundation of capitalism. So here you can provide the body part in the starting, that how Marx and Weber, they both are different to one another, and then you can highlight what are the important features that Max Weber has highlighted, such as he has spoken about how the destiny is already predestined. He's talking about predestination. Moreover, the ideas such as concept of calling that has been discussed. We can also speak about that Weber has spoken about the Protestant people believe in the concept of investment, reinvestment. They have accepted loans as a religious phenomena. In Catholicism, taking the loans or interest money was forbidden. The Protestant people have accepted it, and they are using that loans for reinvestment. Another important postulate that you can highlight is that the Protestant people have made alcohol as forbidden. It is going against the Catholic Christianity. They also believe in something called as anti-ritualism. You can highlight that there is another important feature such as this worldly asceticism that has been highlighted. It means these people are more oriented towards these people are more oriented towards this worldly features. So what are the phenomena? One is predestinations, the concept of calling, reinvestment, anti-ritualism, this worldly asceticism, etc. And in the as we go forward, the body part is also going to have two subparts. In the first part, you have highlighted all these phenomena. In the second part, what you are going to show is how exactly Weber is going opposite to Karl Marx. You need to highlight these elements. For example, Marx is telling that all the changes are basically brought by the economic system. Weber is telling the changes can be brought by the religion. Karl Marx is telling it is the infrastructure which is always going to bring the change. Weber is telling no, superstructure can also bring the change. Marx is telling capitalism will come to its end on the basis of exploitation. Weber will tell that capitalism will not come to an end due to exploitation, but that exploitation will get rationalized. It will get bureaucratized. And therefore, he is talking about rationalization of capitalism. He is talking about exploitation of capitalism. Here, Marx has only highlighted one version of capitalism, and that is called to be as the classical capitalism. But Weber has highlighted the version which is more, that is sustainable capitalism. And he has highlighted, yeah, excuse me. So he has highlighted the version which will be considered as, it will be considered to be as a liberal capitalism. So here, what we are looking at, if you take a look, what are we supposed to write in the conclusion? We need to give importance not just to Weber's view on capitalism. We also need to justify that Karl Marx is also adding an important dimension. So in the conclusion, you are going to say that Marx has provided a materialistic view of explaining what is capitalism, and Weber has provided a non-materialistic view, mostly on the basis of ideology. So ideological factors, materialistic factors have been used to explain the dimension of capitalism. So in this particular Excuse me. Yeah. In this particular question, if we just go back, what are we first looking up? We are seeing the introduction. You need to provide a good introduction by telling that this is a landmark theory for which Weber has been hugely respected. He has been given a lot of importance. It is a theological doctrine where he links the relation, where he links religion with the economic system. That will be your introduction. In the body part, you are going to highlight two dimensions. One, you are going to explain that how Weber and Marx are opposite to one another, because the question is telling, explain the basic idea how Weber's theory of PESOC is a critic of Marxism. So you are first going to attack that main demand of the question, and that is how Weber and Marx are opposite to one another in explaining the idea of capitalism. So Marx is giving an economic criteria and Weber is giving a non-economic criteria, that is religion. And then you are also going to explain some dimensions of PESOC such as predestinations, concept of calling, reinvestment, anti-ritualism, etc. All these dimensions are highlighted. Then you will also little bit focus on Marx and Weber, how they are opposite. He gives an economic criteria, he gives a religion criteria, infrastructure, superstructure, capitalism is exploitative. Weber is telling no, it is rationalized. Classical capitalism, this is liberal capitalism. And then finally, you will be providing a conclusion telling both the dimensions are important to study a holistic view of capitalism. Now let us try to go to the third question. Now going to the last question. Okay. Now, going to the last question, we will be looking at the term alienation. Let's read the question first. Critically examine the salient features of alienation as propounded by Karl Marx. It's a very direct question. So this has been asked from the unit 4, that is the thinker, and the first thinker that you are having, Karl Marx. Separately, we are having a topic called as alienation. So what you will be doing is in the uh, introduction, and then I will just write the body, and then I am having the conclusion. So yeah, in the introduction, you are going to be providing a simple definition of what is meant by alienation. This term is referred to as disconnectivity from the society, because Karl Marx is telling capitalism is so exploitative that people have actually lost the purpose of their life. People have got disconnected from the society. So what is alienation? It is simply regarded to be as an estrangement of self, or you can use the word it refers to as separation from the society. And this concept has been mentioned in the book in known as Economic and Philosophical Manuscripts of 1844. So Economic Philosophical Manuscripts of 1844 in this. So your introduction is going to be straightforward, telling what is alienation, from which book it has been taken, and then you will be providing what are the salient features of the term alienation. And as we see, alienation is referred on the four features. The first feature is how the people are being disconnected. They are alienated from the product. It means who is the actual owner? The capitalist is the actual owner. Everything belongs to the free market. So they are not the owner. The capitalists are the ones who are going to control it. They are alienated from the process of production. It means your task has been broken down into such a simpler task that you don't know how you are actually contributing in that act of production. So with due to automation being a work very monotonous in nature, due to the phenomena of Taylorism. Taylorism means it's an act of de-skilling. We like in a car making company, there are hundreds of people working, tens of dozens of departments are there, and your job is so small that you are not able to highlight how you are actually contributing. So you are disconnected even from the act of process of productions. You are also alienated even among the co-workers as well, in the name of competition, incentives, promotion and bonus. You are getting alienated with your colleagues as well. And lastly, Marx has highlighted one, two, three, all the phenomena. It is leading to alienation from self itself. Alienation from your own within self. You have completely lost the purpose of life. And here comes the interesting part. This question is actually using the word critically explain. That means you need to highlight not just the criteria which are explaining alienation, but you also need to bring a certain kind of assessment of this term. For example, in today's time, do you think alienation is largely present or is it absent? For example, alienation is relevant in the society, especially in the case of global capitalism. Exploitation is happening. Moreover, we are seeing there is so much large level of automation of work that is also happening. It means machines are trying to control the humans a lot. So due to technological upgradations, due to automation, rise of global capitalism, alienation is relevant. Alienation is relevant. But we can also say that at many times alienation is irrelevant because it is exaggerating, because today people are having social security benefits. Look at it. You are working 8 hours. Beyond that, if you are working, that will be called as overtime or it will be bringing some exploitation. You are benefited in the form of provident funds, health benefits, allowances are being given. So social securities are also there. Moreover, we get to see Robert Blummer, who is telling that as the technology will increase, alienation will come down, people will get chance to become more creative as well. So here we can highlight the contribution that alienation is irrelevant in those societies which are highly skilled. So what are we doing over here? We are trying to divide the body into two parts. In the first part, we are explaining only the salient features. In the second, we are doing the critical explanation, and that is what we are providing some kind of an assessment. That is how alienation is relevant with rising global capitalism, with rising automation or artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. How alienation is irrelevant because people are getting social security benefits. Highly skilled laborers are trying to have their own objectivity because ultimately alienation is associated to non-creativity. Alienation is associated to non-creativity. It is also associated to objectification of labor. If people are getting chance to be creative and they are having some emotional attachment to the product, so therefore that alienation will be absent. So in the assessment we are telling 2 points where it is present, we are telling 2 points where it is absent. And what are you going to do in the conclusion? Here in the conclusion you are going to tell that Karl Marx has shown the nature of capitalism. Karl Marx has shown the nature of capitalism. At one end, alienation is considered to be as a form of a reality, but many times he has exaggerated. So therefore, the Marxist view is considered as an important view, especially in the age when the income inequalities, relative poverty has touched to its peak. So you are not going to completely criticize Karl Marx. You are going to tell him, thank you for providing this theory of alienation. It has helped us to understand the nature of capitalism. But on the other hand, you also need to add a larger dimension and see whether whatever phenomena that he is showing, whether it is truly there or not. This is a 10 marker question, a one or two paragraph which explains the salient features, one paragraph which explains the assessment, and then trying to put a balanced conclusion where Marx has tried to broaden the scope of understanding of modern world's capitalism. So what have we done in our today's session? We have tried to understand the question number 3, A, B, C. So the first question was about What is the view about digital ethnography and the visual cultures? The second, we try to understand what is the idea of PESOC and how is it a critic to Marxism. Then we try to understand the analysis or a critical explanation of alienation. Is it there or is it not there? That's it in our today's class. I will see you in the next one. I want you to understand and write down these questions so that you become a more confident aspirant. I'll see you in the next one. Have a nice day.